Korean, Korean sociology, philosophy, and spirituality is the gender of science, theology, philosophy, spirituality with an LGBTQ perspective in an LGBTQ planet. And that is a great song by Christina Shusho from Tanzania. And our favorite gospel singers in the world. I love her music. She sings very deep songs like that one. She is singing about, I want to unite with the Lord. I want to relate with the Lord. That's in Swahili. And that's the subject today. We're going to do qualification. And we are going to mention the word. And the word unite comes from many people have. And we want to start with Karl Marx. The word workers of the world unite. All the proletariat countries, and then it was changed from proletarians. Let's try proletariat aller Länder Vereinigt. That is unite, and we are now back to work unite. You have hallelujah to the word from Karl Marx. I call Karl Marx Papa Liberation, or in Latin America, Papa Liberation. Basically, the word unite. What is the importance of unity? And you see the workers' union and all of this. So the phrase meant that should unite in unions to demand for their demands, such as workplace and conditions, that the workers should see various crafty unions and unite against the capitalist system. So unity is a very important thing, and we are going to read a lot. As we said, we're meditating on verbs. It's very important to think about a verb. Sometimes you just meditate about peace, and sometimes we meditate on very many nouns, concepts, and verbs. So today we are meditating on the verb unite. And so Karl Marx is that if the workers didn't unite, they will not be able to fight the capitalist system. And this is where labor unions all over the world are Marxian or Marxist. Every union, even United Nations, is based on this idea. Because Karl Marx, when you see him use the word, it means he is encouraging the concept of unity. And today in our meditation, we're not only going to look at Karl Marx, it's Jesus Christ, Yeshua HaMashiach, who also used the word unity. The different verses in the Bible that talk about unity. I mean, even United States is built on the Marxist ideology, only that Karl Marx came after United States of America. And so where did United States of America get its name? Unity, united. French had also were Marxist before Karl Marx came. Let's go and look at the word United States of America. Then we could even go to United Kingdom. So because we are meditating on the word unite. It's all States of America. As you can see, the president is still down on Trump. Okay. United States of America. And we want to see the etymology of the name. Unity. Okay. Let's see how it's divided. It's the world's oldest surviving federation. And this federal republic is a representative democracy in which majority rule is tempered by minority rights protected. Congratulations. That's if you make majority rules, meaning that even if the minorities lose an election, because it's a fact, most cases a minority will always lose because democracy is a, especially the democracy that the world practices, modern day democracy, is what you call majority rule democracy. It is the one who has the numbers wins the election, not the one who has the best ideas. And even if it was the one who had the best ideas would be surrendered to a vote. And in a vote, the one who has the highest votes wins for his idea. So basically, there is no difference. There's a very small difference between idea democracy and number democracy, because both of them are based on wins. But the number democracy is a direct majority rule. The ideas democracy is an indirect majority rule, because the best idea is the best because it has the most votes, not because it's the best in quality. So meaning in politics, majorities are the ones that determine what is right, and they determine what is bad and good. This is why America has democratic battles, of political battles, because if it was 80% Republican, 20%, you mean the country will be Republican. There is no battle. Really, Democrats would be crying and saying, you know what, please give us our rights. And that's why I have like this sentence: majority rule tempered by minority rights, by law. So that's how they've lost the, because of wooing them up, them give their rights. And this is why Trump was wrong to attack transgender. I don't have, they are minority. Should transgenders will win, will beat the straight or bisexual majority. Let's say straight. I think bisexuals are also not that many. Yes, population system. These days, sexual orientation, graphic, or feature. So you have to answer either you're gay, bi, or very, very good. We need the data. We should know who the country. We need to know who. I mean, transgenders will never win in. It is about numbers. If it's about yes, I mean, Obama won a minority, won the election, where people are. He's an example of that win anything, the ideas he's putting forth. Hillary Clinton won the popular vote in 2016, meaning a minority. She's a woman, so she's a minority, and she won. She got a vote. So sometimes it doesn't mean that when you can't win. What it means about it in terms of numbers, like if we're that concern minorities, do not those issues to the majority. Vote for the minority, 80%, especially if they don't agree with them. You see, like the transgender issue, there is no way you allow straight people to vote, especially straight people that are transphobic. It's a given. They are going to their rights. That's why the trans have a case right now, a very strong one, that this rule that is here, majority rule, should be with by minority rights protected by law, upheld in America, because it should be upheld that the president priorities all minorities, all, yes, Even prisoners are minorities, and they are protected. They are given their space, and their human rights are still kept in prison. Yeah, it's very important. Every minorities, why? They are a minority. America is not a minority ruled country. Are minority ruled. The one who rules the country. And of course, those are pure monarchies. Actually, these days, then, if they're there, they are very few, like in Swaziland. But now we have parliamentary monarchies or constitutional monarchies that have parliaments, and they have prime ministers and all of these people, but there's still a monarch. But the monarch really doesn't do a lot of work. It's just ceremonial. So that's what. But in the past, the world was a minority rule. Even in religion, there are that are minority rules. Islam, Christianity, Judaism. The King of Kings. He's the one who controls rule. He's a minority ruler. So it's minority rule over, and majority rule is most democratic. So we were talking about unity, and to remain united, protect all the minorities, even those you don't understand. And if the majority do not understand a minority, do not subject the minority type of referendum or election that involves their issues. That's why I do not referendums for same-sex marriage, especially in areas where there are homophobes, because they will not understand what a homosexual is. You see, a homosexual wants to be with a homosexual. That's a fact. So give them that space. Give them that space. But don't subject marriage or referendum in a country where the majority are homophobic. And then you won't give them their rights, and then you suffer. So what do you think? Protect the rights of the minority. Without referendum, without anything. Just protect their rights. Gay sex, and let gays in their community as their community. So, and then, but don't subject them to a referendum. They won't win. They won't, because the majority is already homophobic, and so it's just a lost game. So when you do that, you are a united country. You see, unity. Good. We're focusing on the etymology. That's because we're meditating. You see, that's what meditation is. When you think about one word, it makes you think about so many things. And you go to other areas, and you're still keeping it to that word. So we're meditating loudly. Now, okay. So United States of America, of course, it was Amerigo Vespucci, and he was an explorer, an Italian. So America is an Italian name. If you know, there you have. And documentary evidence of the phrase United States of America is a letter dated January 2nd, 1976, written by Moulin, Esquire, George Washington's aide-de-camp, and Master Continental Army. Joseph Reed, Moulin expressed his wish to carry the full and ample powers of the United States of America to Spain to assist in the Revolutionary War. The first known publication of the phrase United States of America was in an anonymous essay in the Virginia Gazette newspaper in Williamsburg on April 6, 1776. And in the second edition, John Dixon it was prepared by John, and he said by June 1776 at the latest, declared the name of this confederation, the United States of America. And that is what it was. Why on United States of America? I'm looking for that word, unity. You see, the United States became popular after the end of the American Civil War. Now, when the word United States became very. Now, of course, I'm trying to say that because America read first federation, oldest federation in the world. And what is a federation? It is a union. It is a union, you see. It is a political entity characterized by union of partially self-governing or other regions and other central federal government federalisms. So union, and then when we go to the word union, now you see we're coming back to our unite. A political union is a type of state which is composed of or created out of smaller states. You see? Unification and cooperating union. All of these. And there are very many unions in the world. There are political unions, there are social unions. Sex is a social union. When you have sex with somebody, you unite. Sex is a sexual union, a biological union. That's why homosexuality is natural. It is a union between people of the same sex. That's why there are economic unions. You have NAFTA, and then you have ECOWAS in Africa, West Africa. That's why United Nations is called United Nations. It's a political union. And that's why Christianity is a union. Islam is a union. Because there are systems. But you have interfaith, because interfaith means united faiths uniting or interacting with each other, not really uniting. The best union is Unitarian. Let's go to Unitarian and see what it means to be a Unitarian. Oh, interesting topic. Unitarians, the beauty of a Unitarian church, they, a United Church of Christ, they join, and what do you call it? They come together and they respect all views in their space. Unitarian. There you are. Unitarianism, look at this. What we are meditating, remember. So we're focusing on the word unit. In unitas, which means oneness, and from unas. So Unitarianism is actually a oneism theology, and is a Christian theological movement that God in Christianity is one as opposed to the Trinity, which is three, which defines God as three persons in one being, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Unitarians believe, therefore, that Jesus is inspired by God in his moral teachings, and he is a Savior, but he was not a deity or God incarnate. Unitarianism doesn't constitute one single Christian denomination, but rather refers to a collection of both extant and extinct Christian groups, whether historically related to each other or not, which share a common theological concept of oneness, nature of God. Compromising monotheism at the heart of Christian Unitarianism distinguishes it from the major Christian denominations which subscribe to Trinitarian theology. Christian Unitarianism is analogous to the more austere or more harsh monotheistic understandings of God in Judaism and nearer to the concept of God in Islam. Wikipedia is saying that Unitarians are very close to they are very close to the monotheistic religions, the Judaism and Islam. They are very monotheistic. Even though Islam has a bit of polytheism. If you read the Quran very well, God says we created, we did this, and you want. I thought Islam is monotheistic. Why are they using the we? But it's because in Arabic, the word we can actually mean many, can actually mean one person. You know what it means when you say we. You're actually saying I. It's a united I. Many people united. United. When you say the United Nations is going to help refugees, meaning we are going to refugees, because United Nations is one entity. So in English it should be I will help refugees, because but it says the United we will, because there are many nations that are use the word we, but they can use because it's one entity, many nations. So Unitarians are to Islam and Judaism than Christians that subscribe to Trinitarianism. And actually it's so weird. Look at unity, unite, unitas, oneness, and unus, which is from the word one, uno. Uno. What is so interesting is it's close to Pentecostal holiness, the oneness movement that believe that God is one. So the Unitarians are also just like the oneness movement. And you can Africa, they're in India, they're in Canada, US, of course, and of course, parents through the United States in this channel, so we won't go there. Now, I've told you. So our concern is the word unity, oneness, unos, uno, and now we now conclude the meditation with John 17, and from the KJV. I love the KJV because it is the oldest English. And why are we coming to this? Jesus Christ told people, he prayed. You know, the first prayer that Jesus said, there are very many prayers in the Gospels that Jesus said. Now, the one he said, it was the first one. He taught the Lord's Prayer. What is called the Lord's Prayer is just a teaching. It wasn't necessarily a prayer. He was teaching people how to pray. And how do you pray? You talk to God. You call the Father. You know, he was teaching people how to call on the Father in heaven. And it was a John 17. It's a very interesting and back to our predicaments of stubborn side that just want to move. We're going to go to another one. Let's try the Christian answers. Okay. These words spake Jesus and lifted his eyes to heaven. Remember the first prayer Jesus Christ taught people? What did he say? When you pray, say, Our Father, which art in heaven. Now look at his Father. The hour is come. Glorify thy Son. Thy Son also make thee. Sing just did we people. His prayer, looking for Father. And he did that because he was not praying with people. in fact, prayer is a very public prayer because you say, Our Father. It's owning the Father. He's our. But when you pray alone, you say, and look at Jesus. He always on the cross. Eloi, Eloi, sabachthani. God, why have you forsaken him, Father, that time? Sorry. He said, my God. And he in his other prayer, he says, Father, if it is thy will, take this cup away from me. But not my will, but yours be done. He called on the Father. He always, and you see, that's what we teach people here in queer science, theology, spirituality, QSTPS. We know, and we know from the heart of hearts, that God is our Father. And we can call on him, whether you're gay or straight or transgender, because a father has children. And we're going to do another of that. The Father loves all of them. And God the Father, not the human father. Human fathers are very conditional. They pick. I mean, it's even seen in the Bible. Didn't love Jacob the way he loved Esau. And Rebekah loved Jacob more than Esau. And they were their children. They were twins. You see, that's human fatherhood. Human fatherhood is very subjective, is very conditional. You know, somebody likes another one because of what he does. And another one says, I know I love this kid. He's more lively. You see, it's because of the human nature. We are free. We know we like picking things. We like choosing. You know, even look at hens. Have you seen hens when they take care of children? A hen can even disown a chick that doesn't look nice. You're joking. Go and look at animals again. A cow, I remember I was in the village one time, and my friend told me that this cow refused its calf. And I was like, how could that happen? How can a cow reject its calf? And he said it's because they made a mistake one night. They put the calf to sleep with the goats. And so when the day came and they took the calf back to the cow rejected the calf because he said it was smelling goat skin. That you spend time with goats, please don't come near me. And I was like, oh no, the calf is going to feel bad that mommy has said no because he's now smelling like a goat. And he was not a goat. You know, in the cow's mind, the child is a goat because he smells like one. But no, he's not a goat, he's a cow. But because the mother felt that, no, I only want to stay with someone that smells like me, I only have a child who smells like me. I don't have a child who smells like from another mother. So I don't know this one. And so she rejected the calf. So it's not just a human parenthood. It is an animal parenthood. Because animals are also parents. And they make choices. But humans are more stronger in making choices because they are higher animals. That's why you'll find some parents are liberal, you know. They take care of any child. This is what we encourage. A liberal parent is closer to God the Father than a parent who is conditional. Yes, that is the lesson. Because the parent stays with all their children. And that's what Jesus said about God. God blesses the wicked and the righteous. Yes, he gives them rain. He gives them sunshine, all of them. And so Jesus said, be perfect like the Father. And how do you be perfect? You love everybody. Yes, you love everybody. And very few people have that. Very few people. That's what Jesus, when Jesus says be perfect, people need to understand. Sometimes understanding comes with your advancement in language. So sorry about that. It's a reality of life. Because when Jesus would say that, what he's exactly saying is that, you know, to be perfect is very hard. It's very hard. Because you have to really tolerate everybody, even the one who is bad to you. You tolerate them. And that's why Jesus said God is perfect, because he takes care of all. And it's a very weird concept. I mean, even people, some will be saying, no, what are you saying? You're saying something weird. No, it's there. And we're going to read it one day. I'm not talking about it today. This is just about the fatherhood and how Jesus always addressed the Father. And what I was trying to say, I was talking to the LGBTQ persons who faith. Don't fear talking to the Father. Don't fear. I know sometimes you may fear because you've been taught about a God who hates you because of who you are. And that's a lie. There is no verse, even the verses that are presumed to be against homosexuality, they are not saying that God hates those people. It's just that humans didn't like that behavior. Moses didn't like it. But that didn't mean it was not happening. It was happening. Yes. It was happening. And so transgenders, homosexuals are children of God. They are just sexually different. The poor children in Africa are the children of God, just like the rich children in America are the children of God. Yes, it's a fact. All of them. All. And we're going to do this in the next video. So sorry. It was just a beautiful fact to find that Jesus started his prayer with the Father. He didn't fear calling on Father. Now, and he goes on and he goes on. But where we're going to conclude the video is in the unity. And what he was asking. Because to pray, what is to pray? To pray is to ask. That's all. Prayer is just to ask. Prayer is just to ask. That's what it is. And so, Jesus asked a lot of things. Jesus asked a lot of things. But this is the thing we want to look at, that he asked the Father. And this is what he asked. Okay, this is what he said. We've got it. Neither I pray, that's verse 20, for these alone, but for them also which believe on me through their word, that they may all be one. Now let's replace the word with unus. That they all may be unus. That they may all be united. That they may all be unitas. That they may all be united. As thou, Father, art in me, and I in thee, that they also may be one in us, that the world may believe that thou hast sent me. Are you seeing these beautiful connections here? That Jesus was telling us something and reminding the Father. Number one, he told the Father, of course he asked the Father that all, who may be one? That they all may be one. All those who believe in him. All in him. As thou, Father, art in me. Now, this is very important. Number one, Jesus is saying the Father was in him. That's what he's saying. Number two, he is saying, and I in thee. Jesus was in the Father, and the Father was in the Son, in Jesus. So the Father is in the Son, and the Son is in the Father. Are you seeing that unity? And sometimes unity, as I've told you, unity is oneness. That's why sexual unions are one. Political unions are one. Why did America have a civil war? It was because the states that were won disagreed on something, and the disagreement was so bad on slavery. They disagreed on slavery. Some states said, let the black people go, let them be free. And some other states said, no, these blacks, we are using them, we're getting money from their labor, we can't let them go. They're working for us, or we have enslaved them. So that was the war, and that's why it was called a civil war. The United States of America became the divided states of America on the day the Civil War began, because they couldn't agree. And right now, even America is facing another cycle of disagreement. They don't agree on certain issues. And if they don't agree on those certain issues, they will find themselves in trouble. Like I've told you, the transgender issue, it should be dealt with amicably, because it can affect the union. Yes, it can affect the union. You know, protests, look at the civil rights movement. What was it? There was a disagreement. Martin Luther King, for his information, imagine, it is even exactly 100 years after the Civil War, there was another civil war. It was another civil war, and it was led by a black man, a black preacher, Martin Luther King. And he came up and he said, enough is enough. We're being oppressed again. You know, and it was indirect oppression, very indirect, because what happened is the Civil War ended and the black people were emancipated, and they were told, you're free now, you can do what you want. Well, not what you want. They stayed. Even voting, they delayed in allowing them to vote. Then they allowed them to vote. Then they said no. There was a fear, and they said, let's put them aside. Let's not mix with them, because of many issues they had, and they put them aside. And then what happened? Within no time, the black people were being oppressed. Can you imagine? They were segregated. Then Ku Klux Klan comes up and disturbs them and burns and, you know, attacks them and jails them. It was like, what is happening here? Excuse me? And Martin Luther King said, no, this is not going to happen. We were emancipated to participate in building America. And so what happened? Martin Luther King rose up and led another civil war. It was a very vicious civil war. Of course, not so much bloodshed, but the only bloodshed was Martin Luther King, or some of the bloodshed, because other people died, if you didn't know. Even Malcolm X died, and he was also a leader in that struggle. But when Martin Luther King died, that's when America knew that they made a mistake to segregate the blacks. And so what happened? Unity was now brought, and racial unity was encouraged by the government officials. Now, 60 years from now, and this is the sexual diversity, is a problem. And you have one side which homophobes and transphobes, and the other side with the transgenders and the homosexuals, and they're saying their rights need to be recognized. And one side is saying, no, these people are bad. They are not supposed to be recognized. And that's another civil war happening. That's why America is the way it is right now. It's in civil war. It's just a different type of civil war. Remember, diversity is the principle. The first civil war was bloody. It was physical. It was hard. It was nasty. And then the second civil war was non-violent, but it was still a bit nasty because Martin Luther King died. but it ended in the favor. The beauty of all these civil wars, it ends in the favor of the oppressed. The first civil war, the blacks won. The second civil war, the blacks won. And now we're in the third civil war, and the LGBTQ movement will win. They will. Yes, they will. Because of one thing. If they don't win, that's the end of the union. It's simple. Because you're oppressing a minority. It's weird that wars have to end up with minorities winning. But it's justice. That's what happened in America. Justice was done in the 1860s when the Civil War ended. And justice was done when the Civil Rights Movement now got full access to power in America. The black people now could run. Remember, Jesse Jackson even ran, and he tried. Yes, he did. And NAACP rose up. All of these organizations for the black people, they rose up and they spoke so that anytime there's a problem, they speak on. And we're going to talk about, have you noticed in the Bible there were no police? The only policeman in the Bible was Phineas. The only one. There was no other police. There was no enforcer. So what am I saying about police? All of these organizations, they are enforcers. So the LGBTQ organizations, the black organizations, they exist to be watchdogs. And they say, you have to enforce this justice principle. You see why the war in Civil War was bloody? The first Civil War? There was nobody to stand for the black people in enforcing. The only person was the North. And the North, the Northern Army was the one that was helping. But what I mean by enforcing, there were no organizations. You know, these days we are so honored to have, as I told you, NAACP, and then you have the King Center, and then you have the LGBTQ GLAD and Human Rights Watch. All of these, you have the Southern, what is it called? ACLU. These are guys who are watchdogs. They watch over you, minorities. You should be grateful for them. But in the first Civil War, there was no black organization. It was only Harriet Tubman. She was an organization on her own. And the few black liberators that were killed in the muddy swamps of the South. So, as I've told you, right now America is in the Civil War. And even if, whether the LGBTQ lose it now or not, it's not over. Yes, it is not over. Because I've told you something. LGBTQ are a minority. And we've discussed about democracy very well right now. And a democracy is, the democracies of the world are majority ruled. So what happens in a majority ruled country? You protect the minorities. You protect them. Because you understand there is no minority rule in a majority rule country. So you give them, to make it a win-win situation, you give them their rights. So what Trump did was not right. He should recognize the transgenders. Otherwise, it could lead to his fall if he's not careful. Now, we were talking about unity. You see, that's the power of meditation. You can go deep and deep and deep and deep and deep. And you turn and you go this way and you go back and you come back to the meditation. That they also may be one in us. So now all of these people will be one in the Father and in the Son. That the world may believe that thou hast sent me. You see, the most important thing to Jesus Christ and the Father was that the world was supposed to believe that he was sent. That was what he was sent by the Father. The Father sent him to the world. And the world was supposed to believe in him. And now when the world believes in him, the world will be one with him and the Father. Because when the Father sent the Son, the Father was in the Son. The Father was in the Son. So when the Son went, he was with the Father. And that's why when people hated the Son, they hated the Father. And when people loved the Son, they loved the Father. And the glory which thou gavest me, I have given them, that they may be one, even as we are one. Jesus loves oneness. What is oneness? It's unity. It's lack of division. There is no war. You're not fighting. Have you tried fighting? Do you know prosperity? I changed my views on prosperity. I used to be lambasting prosperity gospel until I understood what prosperity gospel is. Prosperity gospel is a gospel of peace. It is people to live in wealth and peace. Of course, there is a brand of prosperity gospel that's a bit sad in the sense that somebody is really riding on the person's desire to prosper, and he gains from it. But you know what Paul said? Paul said, as long as you preach Christ, whether it's for gain or no gain, preach on. You know, because Paul's issue was not what you're getting and not what you do in a prosperity church, but is it that Christ is being preached? That's all he wanted. All Paul was saying, Christ must be preached. And that's all he wanted. He didn't care. It was not really about caring. It was just like, you know, the most important thing to me is that Christ is preached. That's all. Because he knew if he went to the issues of prosperity gospel, he was going to have a fight. Do you know all the letters would all be about prosperity gospel, fighting prosperity gospel people, and it would not be about Christ? The thing Paul wanted to talk about was Christ. He didn't want to talk about money. That's up to you. Even Paul asked for money. Yes, he did. He didn't fear. He asked for money. He said, I need help. He told the church that, please, I needed money to go to Macedonia. And this church from Philippi gave me the money. He talked about money. It's understandable. And you know, imagine if the early church talked about money. What about today? Ananias and Sapphira died because of money. The Holy Spirit knows how to count. And he counted and he knew they didn't bring the full amount. And it was to cause fear. And people, I'm sure, that time gave a lot of money. So what I'm trying to say is that we live in a world, we are in a physical world, and money is a physical element. So Paul was not really concerned about what a prosperity preacher was preaching. Actually, those days they even had tougher prosperity preachers. And even Paul told off women who listened to them. He called them silly. He called them silly women who listen to anything. Someone just comes and tells you, if you give me $5,000, you're going to get $500,000 today. After that, you don't see the pastor again. And he's gone. And you wonder, where did he go? He told me I'm going to get $500,000 today. And I can't see him. He's gone. Yes, Paul said, did he blame the preacher? No, he blamed the people who listened to the preacher. Yes, he blamed. That's why he called the women silly. He didn't call the preachers silly. He called the women because they listened to these people. And they did not discern and tell, am I talking to a rich guy? Am I talking to someone who is stealing from me? Or is someone who is really telling me the truth that God is going to give me that money? Because guess what? Even Elijah did that. Yes. Elijah told the woman of Zarephath, give me something to eat, and you will see a blessing.
And when the woman gave him something to eat, all the jars were filled with oil. And she became rich. So what does that tell you? Elijah was a true prophet. He actually performed a financial miracle, but he demanded her to do something, and she did it. But the others, the silly women of the New Testament, they were listening to anybody who was coming, and even somebody who just can cheat and say, you know, I can do this for you, and I can tell you, and I can multiply this, just give me this. So that's how prophets work. You know, prophets give commands. They tell you what to do, and they'll see. I mean, Jesus, do you know the miracle Jesus performed of wine? He would have said, you know, pour water in those jars and it will turn into wine. Do you know it would have failed? Yes, it would have. It would have failed. And the water would have not turned into wine. And what do they say? Jesus is a con man. He's a con man. He told us to put water in a still water and we wanted wine. But guess what? It became wine. And so he wasn't a con man. He was a true prophet. So that's a fact. So you don't deal, when you see false true prophets, just ignore. I mean, he's just another guy, you know. It happens. That's the fact. So you don't blame the prophet. You blame the people who listen to them and still stick to them because they are adults. They have understanding. Do you see false prophets going to children and talking to them, and because the children don't have money. But believe me, if the kid has money, they'll go for them. Anyway, let's finish here. We are saying that Jesus wants us all to be one, and this includes the whole world. God is in us all, and this is where Paul and Jesus agree. Jesus is a oneness theologian, and so is Paul. Paul is also a oneness theologian. Now, not all the people in the New Testament were oneness theologians because they were still locked in the Jewish-Gentile issue, especially the disciples of Jesus Christ who walked with him. They were so locked down into the Jewish-Gentile division because they believed Jesus was the king of Israel. They were not looking for the king of the world, which Jesus was actually going to be. And that's what Revelations is all about. It's about Jesus coming back and becoming the King of Kings. That's what Revelation is all about. So, but the disciples of Jesus Christ, they wanted a Jewish king who was going to rule in Israel, restore Israel, and let their lives be happy forever and ever. That's what they wanted. So, but Jesus told them, just wait for me in Jerusalem, and the Holy Spirit will come upon you, and then you will go into power. So they, if you're a disciple, you listen, yeah, good. So he's gonna come after this, and guess what? He didn't come. And Paul was a different disciple. He never spent time with Jesus. But Paul had very weird experiences. He met a Cornelius, the Roman centurion. I mean, not Paul. That was actually Peter. To teach Peter that Gentiles are also going to be united with Jews. That's what it was. That's why United Nations has Israel and Gentile nations. They are united. United Nations. They are one. We are all one. Unus. Unis. We are all one in the system. The whole world. Let me tell you, as long as your country is in the United Nations, you are united to every country. We are all one. Yes. That's why, like when UN, when there are refugee problems, like in South Sudan, there's a refugee problem, Refugees are supposed to go to another country for safety. Like what's happening now in America. Trump is sending them army to deal with the refugees from Central America. Why is that happening? It's because Trump, have you noticed Trump is not friends with the UN? He's been withdrawing from UN because of the he doesn't agree with UN. That's the issue. UN has disagreements. Remember what I told you about all the civil wars in America? They all came out from disagreements. That's what you need to understand. And so there's a civil war in the UN. UN is not able to understand or deliberate on the issue of Israel. And Trump came in as a president who is saying he supports Israel. So if you look at through all the years from 2016 to now, look at the engagement and the relationship between USA and UN. It hasn't been that rosy. I mean, Nikki Haley resigned. It's that big. You know, for some people, that's not big news. For people who know politics, that's big news. It's big because it has never happened that the US ambassador to the UN just leaves office. What has happened? It's confusion. It's the Israeli issue. Israel is the issue that is dogging the relationship, the UN relationship, the UN union. That's the problem. And it will not, this is the longest civil war ever. Since Israel had this peace treaty, Oslo, till now, there has basically been no peace because everybody's taking sides. And then now, since Palestine has been recognized as a state, Israel is now being prepared to have a two-state solution. So what's going to happen now is about borders. So that's the war that's happening in America right now. Trump is not, and you see, the Central American refugees who are running there, they have a right to go to the international court because they are refugees. But because USA is not happy with immigration, and immigration now is a global problem. It's a global problem because countries are not happy about the multiculturalism that was encouraged by the United Nations. So basically, there is a war, and I want to finish this saying right now we're in disunity because there is a misunderstanding of unity. We are supposed to be United Nations, and in fact, not even United Nations, I will say United Humans, because nations is making nationalism rear its ugly head. Because if we are united humans, believe you me, when you see a human running away from trouble, you'll protect him. You'll protect him. But when you think about nations, you'll say, where is he coming from? Central America? No, we don't know you. We can't even speak your language. So don't come in. Don't come in. So it is a very tough situation. But I said in another video in my other channel that, you know what you do, America should always build asylum centers at the border. And not only America, every country should have asylum centers at their borders, so that in case people are running away from trouble, they can seek shelter there, and these asylum centers will be manned by the UNHCR, so that they can process everything for these people if these countries don't want people to come inside their territory. You see, what do? Give them, like we're at the border there, put very nice asylum centers. Even these days, I'm so addicted to skyscraper technology, architecture. Build a tall skyscraper that can keep 1 million people in the building. And so that when they're running away from trouble, that skyscraper, you feed them, and the UN officials are there at the borders. So that is a way of preserving nationhood or sovereignty, but also preserving humanity. But don't have this one of saying, you're not coming to the border. Because now, if the military goes, what's going to happen? They're going to shoot people? It's dangerous. Are they going to shoot people? People who are going to push themselves there? People are going to die. And that's the worst. Never kill a refugee. Don't shoot one. Please. That one is dangerous. I know some refugees have died. I mean, Syria, they have died, and other places. But don't kill. Don't kill them. Just put them in a center and let them, you process them. That's what now the America needs to do. The Congress should have an emergency session to draft a law that will fix that problem. And I'm giving my opinions. I'm not giving, this is not an edict, it's just my opinion, how to solve a problem. You just sit down, have an emergency session, and draft a bill, draft a law that will create asylum centers at the border. Because even the border between Canada and America, they should have asylum centers. Who knows? Canada can collapse. And what's going to happen? Are you going to block Canadians to come in? You see, if Canadians can enter America, why not Central Americans? You see, racism is dangerous. Don't be racist. Be humanist. So this is, I know it's a very tough thing to talk about, especially what's happening in America. But I'm happy. I'm kind of happy that these things it's coming out. You know, everything is spilling out. Everything is just pouring out. All the nationalism, all the racism, all the anti-Semitism is just pouring. People are just saying now it's done. You know, we've got to deal with these things right now. And that's what has happened. And when they're dealt with, let's end with a positive note. When they are dealt with, unity will be restored. Because there is no glory without unity, as Jesus has said. Jesus only gives glory to those who are united. And the glory which thou hast given me, I have given them, that they may be one, even as we are one. What is glory? Glory is beauty, is splendor. You see, the great countries like America and Europe, why do countries want to be like them? Why has China emulated America? It's because it's glorious. And how did that glory come? It was because of unity. People were not fighting. Do you want to let me show you a country that is not glorious. It is a country that is always fighting. There is no unity. So they are always bombing, crashing each other. Look at Afghanistan. No glory. It's just war. Look at Africa. Countries have been in war and when they have been in war, there is no glory. You can't have a functioning hospital. You can't have a functioning school because people are only going to fight. Everybody's thinking about fighting. Nobody's thinking about building. People who are peaceful think about building. That's all. And being peaceful means being united. Even if you're different, you can be united. And that's what we are saying. That's why America is glorious. It's because they were united and they built a nation. And every time there was disunity, if the disunity was so big, there was war. That's why the slavery of black people caused disunity in America. Because some people were oppressing human beings and not paying them. Can you imagine all the salary, they never received a salary. Can you imagine working for 200 years without pay? 150 years without pay. See, that is the thing. And this is why whenever you have those discrepancies, those divisions, you sit at the table and you unite. And when you unite, the glory comes because you're now building things. And you're building. This is why we have, why did Gaddafi want United States of Africa? He knew what it would do. It would make Africa glorious. That's all. He was looking for glory, wealth, roads. You know the way America has interstate highways? That is what Africans should dream for their continent. And it can't work if you don't have national cohesion, international cohesion. Yes, international cohesion. So that's why we're saying I prefer humanism and globalism to nationalism, because nationalism is too narrow. You're only focused with people of your type. But I like globalism and humanism because it creates union. You know, like look at there's a road being made from China to America. I think China, is it Russia? Yeah, Russia to America. And this road is going to go through the sea. Beautiful. That is unity. That's going to happen. So what does that mean? All I need to do from Russia to America, I just take a car, a vehicle. I don't need to fly. I just take a car and you look at the beautiful sea as you're driving on the bridge, waterway, on the road, and you reach America, Alaska. Beautiful. That's the union we want. See, roads running from Egypt to Congo and to Angola. And roads running from India to France with no problem. And then when you have a problem in India, you go to France with ease. You just say, yeah, oh, New Delhi is too hot. Let me just go to my house in France. Yes, that is where the world is supposed to go, where we're united. Just like Karl Marx said, workers of the world, unite. Humans of the world, unite.